This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFLTV. It is fight week, better be ever against Bivol, Riyadh season. Delighted to be joined by promoter Ben Shalom. How are you, mate?
Very good, very glad to be here, very excited for a huge week and some massive fights for us.
Absolutely, and we'll come on to them. Obviously, you've got huge involvement with your fighters on the card, so yeah, I mean, none bigger, I suppose, than the heavyweights in Fraser-Clarke against Fabio Wardley in that rematch, that much anticipated rematch. Yeah, we saw a great sold out O2 last year. We've got it in Riyadh now, but the boys had to do what they had to do to obviously A, get the fight on and B, be paid. Yeah.
I got so much criticism that came in, and to be honest, justifiably in a way. Obviously, it was the biggest fight I think we had in Britain this year, the best fight, and to be honest, I didn't expect them to get back in the ring with this quickly. After that fight, I thought, will the rematch be immediate? Maybe it's one for next year. But both of them, after 5 or 6 weeks, were like, this is the fight that we want. And obviously, we thought that it was going to end up back at the O2. And of course, when the opportunity to come and do it in Riyadh season, the opportunity, life-changing for both fighters, I have to say, comes, and they deserve it. Of all the fighters on the card, all the fighters that are blessed to be on this card, I think Fabio and Fraser deserve it for the most, because anyone that was there on that night just saw absolute carnage for 12 rounds, and possibly could have been a box office event. With the right card, it caught the imagination that big. So to be on this card is phenomenal. Thank you to His Excellency, thank you to Riyadh season for such a beautiful card that this is, and what a fight we have in store. It's I think for me a time for Fraser-Clarke to make a big statement. I think he learned the equivalent of 3 or 4 fights. It's his 9th professional fight. He still is a baby in professional terms, and a chance to break a British record, and become the fastest ever man to a British title in the heavyweight division. And really looking forward to that fight.
Both fighters have indicated they believe they have to knock each other out and not rely on it going to the scorecards after a draw in their first fight. I suppose that's a fair comment to make.
I don't think either of them want the same fight. I think they're both preparing for the same fight. I think they're both mentally ready for the same fight, because they have to be. They now know each. Fabio will have also learnt a lot about Fraser in that fight, and they both now know neither of them are going to give an inch. They're going to absolutely give everything. They're going to, proverbially die in that ring. They're going to leave everything out there, and I think both of them want to put on a statement, not have to do the full 12 rounds this time, not have to go to the scorecards because it could be tight again. And as I say, I believe Fraser-Clarke's going to step it up a level. I really do. I think he's got levels to go, but it's still it's a great fight, and I know I've seen online it's definitely a 50-50 fight. And for me, the fight of the night, from a British fan point of view, this is what is going to bring in the pay-per-view buys. This is what the casual fans want to see again. The numbers that they did in March were incredible. And for Fraser to be this big a name within 10 fights he deserves a lot of credit as well. And massive fight on a massive card.
Let's come on to Eubank Jr. In action against Kamil Seremeta. Obviously took the headlines for probably the wrong reasons in that press conference, which is over and done with. It was all kind of sorted out, but we haven't really spoke to you about that. But I haven't spoke to you about that. No, we haven't done an interview about that. But I suppose the main point of it is kind of done and dusted. Chris put out what he put out after, and so did Frank Warren, and that's kind of done with them. Yeah,
look, he's box office. You never know what he's going to do next. I said in a previous interview, he's like not the old school, but the fights that when you first came in the scene, you had the Dillian Whites, the Derek Chisoras, the David Hayes. They'll do you never know what they're going to do at a press conference, but it sells, and you can't control Chris. He's got massive balls. I think everyone saw that. Of course, His Excellency and the way everything's working together now, and the promoters, Frank apologised, Chris apologised, and it was dealt with so quickly. I'd never seen anything like it. That was one forward run for weeks. I was thinking this fight was going to be horrible. Obviously for us working with all the promoters, and it's weird at the best of times for then your fighter to come and do that. It was a very crazy moment in British boxing history. I actually think it will be remembered for a long time, but I'm so glad it got dealt with quickly. I'm so glad we can look forward to a great fight now. I'm so glad everyone's come through it and things have been said, but it seems to have been forgotten about really now, and we can look forward to a fight. And Chris needs to put on a statement. He really does. A lot's been said about his opponent, but put on a statement Saturday, and some massive fights to set up as well.
Yeah, I think you're right in what you're saying, that Eubank does need to make a statement. Obviously, he's had that little bit of time out the ring, so people will be looking at to see how he performs, but also all eyes will be on what Eubank does next. Obviously, we're talking like, obviously he's got a job to do on Saturday, which he's got to get through, but all eyes will be on that next fight for Eubank and yourselves and what you guys do. Yeah,
already in talks with a few fights to happen. Again, you've got to see what happens on Saturday night, but he needs to put on a statement. But it's because those nights, those big fights are there. Whether it's the Canelo fight, whether it's the Conor Benn fight, whether it's the world titles next. Obviously, we talk about Billy Joe Saunders, but that will be up to him. But yeah, it's make or break now for Chris. He knows that. The next 12 or 18 months, everything that he said, whether it's world titles, legacy, the big fights, the Canelo fight, they need to happen. And he's in a great place. He's very, very focused. I think throughout his career, he's probably fell in and out of love with the sport. I've never seen him so focused, never seen him so dedicated, never seen him so ready to prove people wrong. And for as long as he's in the sport, he's going to bring a huge amount of attention to it. And get through Saturday and some massive nights for Chris.
Well, Conor Benn will be here in Riyadh this week, so I'm sure at some point everyone will be in the kind of same vicinity. But yeah, I mean, he's made his intentions clear regarding Eubank, and Eubank has vice versa. So a possibility. I did ask Eddie Hearn yesterday how strong of a possibility is that for the first quarter of next year. He didn't say too much, which indicates to me that there could be something in that for next year.
I thought the opposite. I actually thought there was so much confidence that he was going to be ready for a certain time, and I think that seems to have maybe gone. Look, we want the fight to happen when it can happen at the right time, but it's hard to even count your chickens. It's hard to even think about it. I've been hearing he's going to be free next month for the past 12, 18 months, and so I think from Team Eubank's side, it's a fight that they want, but it's a fight that they look at when it's actually available and it's actually ready and it can be done in the right way. And it's a huge fight. I've got respect for Conor as well, and I think he's been through a lot, and hopefully that he sees out his punishment soon, and there's a massive fight on the horizon.
Let's talk about Ben Whitaker. Obviously in action against Liam Cameron. We know about Liam Cameron, how kind of tough and durable Cameron can be. Are we going to see what everyone tunes in to watch when it comes to Ben Whitaker?
I actually think Liam Cameron's going to really come and have a go. And that's one thing that you get from Liam. And when we saw against Lyndon Arthur, he put on that was a statement. Been out that long, headlining against Lyndon Arthur, going the distance, having a really close fight, sets up a perfect fight for Ben Whitaker to come and make a big statement. I think we are going to see a huge performance. I think we're going to see Ben Whitaker's at his best when someone wants to stick in on him, and that's what he loves. And he's here to perform. And when the pressure's on, Ben Whitaker performs. And I'm quietly confident that he'll steal the show on Saturday night. I think he always seems to find a way. A huge star. We've got plans to get him out again before the end of the year. But obviously, this is a big moment for Ben. It comes with a lot of pressure. 3 million followers after 7 fights. The way that we've pushed him, the slots that he's been on, the platform that he's been on, everything that's been talked about in world boxing. I was in the States with Crispin and Smith in Los Angeles, and I cannot tell you how many people asked me about Ben Whitaker. Like, that's unheard of. No one was asking in the States about Anthony Joshua after 7 fights. Like, it's unprecedented. It comes with a huge amount of pressure. This is his first test, and but he loves it, and a massive, in a similar way to Eubank, he'll want a big performance on Saturday night, and then look, the future looks so bright.
Let's move on to Martin Bakole and Ajit Kabayel. Obviously, fighting for the right, obviously, to for the Daniel Dubois mandatory situation. So, what can you tell us about that with Bakole and Kabayel?
Delighted to see it ordered. IBF are notorious for holding people to their mandatories, for following the rules. That's what Martin Bakole needs. No one, we've said it so many times, no one chooses to fight Martin Bakole. If you've got a world title, the last person you're going to fight is Martin Bakole. He's never going to get a voluntary opportunity in his life. And so he's number one in WBA. I think he's top 5 in all the governing bodies now. He fights now for the number 1 mandatory position. This is dreamland. This is absolute dreamland for us and Martin Bakole, because now we're in the mandatory system. There's no one can stop it. No one can stop us. Martin Bakole is going to become a heavyweight world champion, whether people like it or not. And for me, he can unify the division. Like, that's so exciting for us. We've obviously heavyweight division is absolutely on fire, and we believe Martin's can be the best out there. And all he needs is those chances. Ajit Kabayel, by the way, for me is the other most avoided heavyweight, and what an 18 months he's had. So it's an unbelievable fight. For me, it's the best fight in heavyweight boxing that doesn't involve a world title. I genuinely believe that. I think it's a phenomenal fight. I think it's on paper a 50-50 fight between two guys that cannot lose in that position. And so to have it all on the line because of the IBF is special. I can't wait for the fight. We're ready for the fight. I just pray to God. Well, I don't really care anymore because I'll replace Ajit Kabayel with someone else. But I pray that for the fans, because I think that's the fight that people want to see, that Kabayel doesn't pull out. We know that Zhang didn't want the fight. I believe that Kabayel does, and he won't want to miss his opportunity now.
Yeah, it is a great fight, to be fair, and we would love to see it happen. So, yeah. Obviously, AJ Dubois week, you had quite an eventful week. I'm not really expecting you to have that kind of week this week. I think everything's going to be a little bit more mellow here for yourself. Yeah,
it seems to have calmed down. But it was a good week, to be honest. I think Josh Buatsi was the story for us, becoming the interim world champion after a long, hard road. He's gone through the domestic scene relatively now with Hutchinson and Aziz and Craig Richards, and I thought it was a great performance. I thought he showed class above. A lot of people were saying that was a really dangerous fight. A lot of people fancied Willie Hutchinson, who was really tough. But it was huge for us, Buatsi. The promoter politics, it is what it is. It was good fun. It got a few headlines. But we move on, and we just, look, for us to be ruffling feathers, to be having fighters that people can't ignore, even if they want to ignore them. That's where it's got to for us, and it's special because, we really invested in our fighters and in our stable through times where, others maybe haven't, and we're now seeing them come to the forefront. We're now seeing them needed for the biggest cards. We're now seeing them really kick on with their career, and as I say, Josh Buatsi had a great performance. It was a difficult night for Tyler Denny, but he'll come again. It was a miracle night as well for us with Tyler. So. Yeah, it's all part of it, and just delighted now with all the fighters. It's taken a long time to get our fighters to a point where they're in the fights that the fans want to see, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting few months.
I saw you earlier talking to Dalton Smith. What was being said there?
He's just obviously asking me when can the fight happen. I said it will happen next year. I said to him, I feel like your promotional team need it more than us, and that's so. We'll do it when the time is right that we feel. We won that fight, don't get me wrong. I genuinely believe it happens next year. Adam Azim's 22 years old. He's got the world at his feet. He's headlining on Sky Sports. He's going to be a huge superstar. The amount he's come on out of the ring since his injury is incredible. He's a different person now. He's got a huge fight on October the 19th, and then we can start to look forward. But yeah, it's a fight that will definitely be happening. I've got a lot of time for Dalton Smith. I think he's a great guy, a great fighter. But one day Adam Azim is gonna inflict a defeat on his career, and I believe it will be next year. But yeah, a lot of respect for Dalton, and the fight will happen.
I've just done an interview with Frank Warren, just a couple of points from the Frank Warren interview that I wanted to kind of just review. First of all, obviously Anthony Yarde, who's featuring on the card at the Copper Box next week. Can you just tell us from your side how that even come about?
Look, it came about initially. We hoped to have made Boazzi Yarde, I think it was in June last year, in February last year. Then it got ordered and it didn't happen again. Then we did Willie Hutchinson, and for a while...
Hey, mate.
For a while, this is what I didn't want.